everyone, welcome back. I am Birin from NFT Mantra, and today we're with Anuj, one of the co-founders of NFT Mantra. We're gonna get to know a little bit about his background, what he does at the company, and how he got into NFTs. So, hi Anuj, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Perrine. Nice to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you today?
Good, good. So, could you tell us a bit more? Maybe could you just introduce yourself briefly for our viewers?
Sure, I can. So Perrine, for the viewers, my name is Anuj Saxena. I'm a co-founder at NFT Mantra, and I'm looking after the product and engineering aspect of the platform. So just a very brief introduction about NFT Mantra. We are essentially building a tool for Web 3.0 creators, which is going to kind of act as a bridge between the Web 2.0 and 3.0 world. The angle is very heavily creator focused. So we're not trying to solve a technical problem here. We're trying to solve a very specific domain problem. My background is essentially product. So for the last 15 years, I have been doing product management in different organizations in different capacity, but predominantly I have been involved in financial services. So my last role was with the organization called eBri, which is a majority stakeholder by Santander Bank. And my role there was I was heading the API ecosystem, which effectively means that in my day-to-day life, I was working with lots of different vendors, either on account services or payment initiation side. And when I was doing this, there were a lot of very interesting use cases I used to come across, and slowly, I started to see the evolution of DeFi, which is decentralized finance. And I still remember the day when I was listening to a podcast, which I think it was 11FS, and they were talking about a new startup called Circle. And I absolutely loved their concept of what they were building on USDC, which is a stable coin. And they were trying to commercialize it by using multiple use cases, one of them being trade finance. And suddenly it was like, this is amazing. And then I started myself to I started to immerse myself a bit deeper into the world of blockchains, and then one thing led to another. So I mean, for me, NFT mantra is an evolution. It's been something that I have been thinking for a while, but I think this cannot be there cannot be a better time than this.
Nice, nice. So this is how you got into NFT, sort of. You came from the decentralized finance uh, aspect, got into it this way, and then, but how did you get to know about NFT? What was sort of like your first introduction to it?
Yeah, so actually, just continuing with that story, I was always looking into some of the interesting use cases. I mean, one of the beauty of my previous role was because I was more on the API side. I mean, API is kind of, there was a fine balance between business and product on the API side, because a lot of it is driven by the traction and the use cases you see in the market. At the same time, partially it's also driven by the innovation that you can bring into the market, right? So I was kind of sitting in the middle of all of those things, where I see those amazing use cases coming up, and then I could mix and match some of those and kind of think about how effectively some of those can be implemented. And as I said, blockchain was kind of coming up. I was looking into blockchain. I was doing some very small crypto trading for a while, but then suddenly, when NFT started to become like the talk of the town, almost 1.5 years ago. Initially, my exposure was very limited, and I was trying to figure out what exactly this is. And I spoke to some of the friends and colleagues, and we were kind of discussing what exactly is going on in the NFT world. But suddenly, when I started to put this one in one together, that there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in the DeFi world, and NFT is bringing uh, a very specific set of attributes of functions which can be executed, and that sits in really well with how DeFi is kind of headed. I certainly like. I mean, that for me, that was a eureka moment. I'm like, this sounds really interesting. And by the way, it wasn't just me. I mean, when I was kind of talking to people, and when I was talking to some of the prospects in my previous role, and we were discussing where this is headed, I got some really interesting feedback from my ex colleagues, and some of the mentors I was talking to. And then I thought the best way to figure this out is to try it out. So I think it was early last year, maybe early last year, yes, early last year, when I started to follow a little bit of NFT. I think this was also when BitCloud was getting a lot of traction, not just a little bit traction. It was fairly new. It was something which was very difficult to understand. I have to say that. But after spending a bit more time of what exactly they're doing and what are NFTs, I think the first reaction was, let me buy some of these. Let's figure out how this works, because there were a lot of buzzwords. You had NFT, and then you had different concepts around NFT. You had the smart contracts, and then even within the NFT world, I mean, there are so many new features now. But the first thing I thought was, if I can understand what it is, then maybe I can do something about it. So I started investing a little bit in NFTs. Of course, very very small investments. But I think what happened was, that gave me a massive exposure of the ecosystem. What exactly is the toolchain there? What are the parties? How different actors behave? I think right now you can see NFTs being predominantly promoted for artwork. But for me, NFT is technically like an asset class. It can do so many things. It has got variable value. It can shake hands. It has value in primary market. It has value in secondary market. It can execute a set of instructions. You can have rules for buying it. You can have rules for selling it. You can also have rules for destroying it. So I mean, just to name some of these things, and this is what I eventually started to learn when I got my hands dirty into the NFT world. And then for me, the natural progression was, yes, I've understood it. I've got my hands dirty with buying it. Now I think it's time to try something out. And then there were some interesting use cases I've been discussing with my other co-founders, Samir and Pito, and we started with a very simple concept that everything in this world is eventually going digital, right? So what if we can start with a simple use case of digitalizing assets and keeping them on the blockchain, and treat this as the first bridge that we wanted to cross, and treat this as a first use case for NFTMantra. Mantra. How about that? And we said, this sounds great. So this is how I got into the NFT world. NFT Mantra was born, and we started with a vision of simplifying things for the creators rather than solving a technical problem. I think that's really key, because you see a lot of tools in the market who are technically
Yeah.
amazing,
I was
and they
gonna
do a
ask you
great
about
job.
this actually. Like the NFT world is so it's so new for a lot of people. It's so wide as well. There are so many tools coming up. There are so many companies coming up that are trying to create solutions and platforms. So for someone who's completely new, could you maybe tell us a bit more about how NFT Mentor is different from other platforms? Like, why should somebody trust NFT Mantra rather than any other platform on the market right now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be honest, this is the question we asked ourselves when we were working on the initial concepts of what problem exactly we want to solve. And at that point, we of course had two choices, that we get fairly technical and try to create something which is very jazzy and shiny, and can do 20 different things, or to understand the exact persona of what our users want to experience, and primarily our users being creators. I mean, at least for the first few phases. So we decided to focus on the personas rather than to solve a problem technically. So within NFT Mantra, I think what we have done is, uh, we have kind of simplified the tool chain. If a transaction needs to be done, I mean, think about a transaction in a real world, right? I mean, if you want to go and buy something, you technically go out. You would have a wallet with you. The wallet will technically hold like a card or some cash. In case you're doing a card transaction, you have more choices now. You can use your watch or whatever, and then you take a receipt. In case you want to expense the receipt, then you kind of take a picture of it. So think of a NFT transaction very similar to that. That if you want to buy something, you need to have some money. There's a transaction that is involved. Transaction involves shaking hands with a party and then exchanging some goods. So all of that, we wanted to simplify it as much as possible, because there's a lot of background process which should happen without influencing the output of the transaction and the ease of doing the transaction, and keeping those philosophies in mind. I think NFT Mantra was created with that focus, that if a creator wants to achieve something, then they have to focus on achieving that part rather than the path to achieving that particular goal. So for example, on NFT Mantra, we have come up with the concept of providing custodian wallets, which are kept completely safe within our ecosystem, so they don't have to worry about creating wallets. We manage the keys for them. We also mask those keys while using transactions, so it's not kind of leaked as part of the back and forth when talking to external parties. We also manage the topping of the wallet. So the pricing is typically shown in fiat currencies rather than Ethereum, which can be slightly complex. And we also manage in the future. We also plan to manage the listing and selling of the asset and kind of consolidating in a way that the creators can immediately get value out of it. So this is the transactional aspect. And the other aspect is creating those NFTs. We are also working on creating launch pads, which kind of simplifies, uploading an asset, understanding what are the rarities, and also understanding, how the positioning or the pitching of their artwork can happen. So everything around this platform is very, very creator centric. Giving that space to the creator to focus on what they want to achieve rather than how they want to achieve. So I think in that sense, NFT Mantra is fairly unique. We're not trying to solve a technical problem here. We are trying to solve a very specific problem for the creators.
So basically, you simplified the technical aspects so much that a creator can just come on board and be a creator, and that's it. They don't need to learn about the technological aspect of it. They can just come on and create NFTs. That's
Absolutely,
really,
absolutely.
really
I think that's
powerful. So, talking about creators, could you maybe just tell us what are some of your favorite artists, or maybe when you started getting into NFTs, what are some of the NFTs that caught your attention and that you eventually invested into?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest, there are two different answers to this. So initially, when I started looking into NFTs, it was more for understanding what the market is and how
Yes,
this
yes.
works. So I didn't necessarily buy things which I liked because some of them were
Mm,
quite expensive as well. Even going back in time,
yeah,
I found them expensive. But if you ask me the kind of artwork I like, I think I'm a big fan of on-chain live art. And I really think we will definitely bring it to NFT Mantra in the near future. I think having that kind of capability to have evolving NFTs or evolving artwork or live artwork on chain is amazing. I mean, that's something which really excites me personally. I follow a lot of artists who do that kind of artwork. I also like playing with those artwork. I mean, just to understand how they build those algorithms and what are the interactions which are possible with those artworks. So I really like these kind of artworks. Now there are few artists who does it really well. I think most of them have their pseudonyms. I don't remember them very, very clearly at
yeah.
this stage, so I don't want to
Mm,
kind of just misquote them. But to be honest, I mean that's the kind of artwork I'm a fan of.
nice, nice. So, just on an ending note, could you maybe tell us about um, any big aspirations you have for NFT Mantra? Like you mentioned, you're starting on in one place, which is allowing creators to come on board and create NFTs, focusing on a specific type of art at the moment. But in the coming months or years, and I know time goes really fast in the NFT community. Like a lot of people say, one day is like 1 week, or everything goes very, very fast. But yeah, some of your own aspirations for the platform, what you hope to see in the coming months.
Yeah, sure. I think I would normalize this a little bit. In my opinion, we all are creators. We all create different things. So of course, in today's world, I mean, NFT creators are seen more as artists who can create like PFP collections or in some cases one-on-ones. But think about anyone who creates anything on Web 2.0 today. So it can be a piece of a blog. It can be an amazing article which is completely backed by some facts, or it can be the artists who are creating these profile pictures or live art, or even in some cases, the creator can be institutional organizations who are creating some kind of assets which are owned by other people, right? So I think in Web 3.0, the creators, everyone is going to be a creator. It's going to be very important that whatever you create is kind of has a footprint on the blockchain. I mean, when I say important, it's kind of not just from a monetization perspective, but also from ownership perspective as well. So
Yeah,
I see the trend in the future that we will have a lot of everyone will start creating on blockchain. Everyone will start using Web 3.0 to kind of own that piece of creation that they have done. And I think for that purpose, initial use cases, as you see, are very art driven. But I think the landscape is going to evolve eventually. you would see a lot of people writing good stuff and creating that artwork. Sorry, not artwork. I mean that piece of article. And every time when somebody likes it, somebody reuses it, they get incentivized for it. They get loyalty paid for it. It's also very clear that who owns this, and so this ecosystem will start to evolve where the personal skills, the collaborative skills of different people, of what they're good at, what they can sell, what they can do, will start to come out. Also, the organizations, the brands will become much more aware of what they can buy, what they can sell, where they can buy it from. They get to the right person in terms of somebody who can really help them achieve a particular objective. And then I also see a lot of commercial models coming up, whether that's in fintech, in payments, in trade finance, and in some of the other retail industry, fashion industry, where Web 3.0 and the whole model of creating and owning something will become absolutely critical. And some of that is also our aspirations. So we see this changing landscape, and we want to have a bigger pie of it. We want to,
Oh,
again,
nice.
coming from a very creator's perspective, own that piece of land and become the
Yeah.
go-to tool for anybody who wants to be a creator.
Nice, amazing. Well, those are very inspirational words to end our short interview on. Thank you so much for your time, Anuj. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you very soon on NFT Mantra. Thank you.
Thanks, Breen. Thank you.